Welcome everybody to Words of Virtue. This is episode 5, and we are talking about parenting. We are talking about our children. We are talking about what we've been through. We are talking about what we experience. We are just talking about what it is to be a parent. I am going to bring in our co host, my mama Joyce, and my good friend Holly. Hello, ladies. How are you doing
Hello.
today?
Hello.
Good.
How are you
Same.
feeling? Are you guys ready to talk about parenting and what you've experienced and what you've gone through and just how much you love being a parent?
Hide me under a rock.
Well, I don't know how to take that considering that you're my mom and you put your head down like, woo. Take that. I thought I was a pretty good kid.
That
I
is
thought you should
the
have put
toughest
your
job in the world. That's the toughest job in the world. Woo!
And the pay is just very little until much
Yes,
later in learning.
yes. I'm due something. I'm due.
Right.
I'm due.
Well, you know they're supposed to be our retirement. And I have 3 kids ranging from 21 to 28, and I haven't seen the retirement benefits yet.
I'm ready to retire. Look, I told my kids, I said, you know how your parents always say, well, I don't want to be a burden on my kids. You remember this, Toya? I said, we always say, I don't want to be a burden on my kids and all this stuff. I said, forget that. I am going to be a burden on y'all because you guys were a burden on me. I mean it. I've already told them what I want my little house in the back to look like, all of this. I'm prepared. They should be my retirement plan. So
I agree.
Mine's only 14. I still have so far to go.
You have a long way.
I don't know if I'll make it.
Start preparing him early. They say don't brainwash your kids and all that stuff. Brainwash them.
Get him the Kool-Aid.
I'm all for brainwashing. Hey, speaking of brainwashing, Mom, it made me think about you. What you was telling me, I'll let you share the story. But when you was telling about us, when you was in our own brain and stuff.
Oh my gosh. Because my mom was kind of like, do what I say, and you have to do it this way. Even when we wash dishes, how is there a rhythm for dishes? I mean, how is there a system that this goes first, that that goes second? You rinse this with cold water, you rinse that with hot water. You start here, and then you end up. Literally, I am serious, guys. So I said, I'm not going to do that to my kids. I'm going to teach them how to think freely, use their critical thinking skills. When they're out there, you make your own decisions and so forth and so on, right? The older those rascals got, the more I saw the decisions they were making. Finally, when they got older, I said, forget it, y'all. I take it all back. Stop using your brain. Use mine, because what you're doing is not working. It just was not working. So get it. Just use my brain, because I didn't do it. That's what I said is work. I didn't do a good job on that. I don't know who raised those kids.
Oh, wow.
Well, I will say your critical thinking training or parenting worked, because it works for me as I got older and in my job. I have great critical thinking skills. It may not have worked in my teenager skills, but as an adult, it worked.
Or young adult skills, or middle adult skills.
She's telling on you.
So Mike, we still got some ways to go for him. He still got a few years to get it together. Woo.
You're giving me no hope.
But I feel you, Mom, because my young adults, sometimes some of the questions that they ask me, I'm like, what was I doing during this 18 years of your life? Did I not do anything? Where was I at? Why are we going through this? But no, it's adorable. It is wonderful when your kids, I know that I tease about it. And I've even teased Holly sometimes, telling her about it, but my kids will call me for everything. Yeah. Like if they are going to the doctor's office, they're going to call. Hey, Mom, what do I do next? Well, go to the counter and tell them what your name is. Take out your ID and give them your card. Hey, Mom, I just did that. Okay, tell the doctor what your ailments are. Hey, Mom, I just did that. And he just asked me. I'm like, oh, my goodness. But I am overall happy. you know, because it could be different. You may not know where they are. So I am happy that at least they will call me. I may not be happy about the amount of times that they'll call me, but I am happy that they will consider me in whatever it is that they do have going on, because it is important. It is so important. I've learned that the relationship or the communication that you build with your kids during that adolescence age makes a difference when they become an adult.
It does.
You have to keep that communication open. You have to talk to your kids.
Well, I want that, but mine's preemptively telling me, you know, he wants to go to school across the country for college. So I've got 4 years to really double down on this, you know, and he's already telling me, well, I'm not going to text you every day. Well, why not? Can't it just be like a I hate you text or a letter or something to tell me you're alive? So I'm trying to will and deal, like, well, what about one call for 15 minutes once a week and 2 texts? And he's just not having it. So I've got 4 years to get that call me for every little thing like you're talking about, because right now it's just eye rolls and huffs and puffs and running the other direction. So
but you know what? It will come, because when they're younger, of course, right now at this age, Holly, you know nothing. Your husband knows nothing. He don't know how God gave him the parents that he gave him. He's going to have to take care of you guys. And then when he really gets into the real world, it's going to be like, whoa, I need my mama. I kind of wish she was still here. So trust me.
I'm hoping.
But on another note, boys get married and they're out of there. Boys go, they get girls, they're out of there. The girls are always there, even though the boys are still there, but it changes. So yeah, it changes. You're not.
I tell Holly that all the time.
Huh?
I just want it to slow down a little. It's happening so quickly.
It does go by so quickly. I tell Holly that all the time. I'm like, it's a difference when you have boys. You know, the boys leave. They tend to go off. They tend to go do their own. But when you have a mom like me who's half FBI, CIA agents, you find secret ways to crawl into their lives, even the girlfriend lives. Like, I have a whole secret. When we meet a new girl, I begin to study her, because she is not closing me out. This is my baby. You're not shutting me out. We're going to figure out how to infiltrate this, because I want to be one of your allies.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why you brainwash him, Holly. You kind of, when he's sleeping, you tell him what type of girl, what type of daughter-in-law you want. You tell him.
Let me get my notebook real quick.
If only that were true, right?
You gotta take some notes.
Well, none of it is gonna work, but we can sit here and giggle about it all the time.
I don't want to be one of those nightmare mother-in-law stories, but I definitely want one of those mama boy stories, like where he's inseparable and he calls her all the time and she cooks our dinner. So I don't want to be a nightmare per se, but I definitely want to be there at Christmas and Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Maybe have some input on the girl that we pick.
Right. You don't want to be kicked to the curb.
I know. Rainbows,
you
butterflies.
invested in him.
Right. I spent years, pain, sweat, tears. No, you're going to keep me there. But I really think it is being there. There's a balance. And Mom, you taught me this. There's a balance in between being able to talk to you and to come to you about anything, but still having that respect that I'm your mom and I will beat your butt if I have to, you know, like no, I'm telling the whole world, CPR, she beat my butt all the time.
Liar, you liar.
Is it too old to open up a case?
Statute of limitations.
I know I'm a grandmother now, but is it too old to open it up? No, but my mom did really have a great boundary, because I felt like I could talk to her about anything. Well, not about anything. I felt like I could talk to her, and if it were serious enough, she would make sure I was okay. She would make sure I was safe. And then if it deemed a whooping, I would still get that whooping. Like, you know, that's going to happen. So she had those good boundaries. And I did the same with my boys. You know, I think I were a little bit more lenient probably than her. I was probably a little bit more like, hey, let's be friends and we can be cool a little bit more than she was. But I had the same, you know, background. I had the same thought behind it. And I do feel with having boys between the age of 21 and 27, they're truly my friends. They really are my friends. I get on their nerves. They've hung up on me because I've been too nosy. They've told me quit calling every single day. But all of that is just love. I hear love.
Not in their business, huh?
That's all I hear. I just hear that you love me when you say that. I'm not in your business. You just love me, and I just love it.
Yeah, but you do have to balance. And I think one thing we think when our kids, the older they get, the less they need us. But in actuality, during those years of, I think from junior high to the young 20s, when you think like, oh my gosh, finally. I remember when I only had the two. So I remember when Mike got in 8th grade and he started ironing his own pants. I was like, yes, he's arrived. I'm done. I don't have to worry about that. But oh no, it's really, I think they need more of you when they get to those ages, because honestly, that's when their friends, they're telling them all this crazy stuff. They don't believe anything we say. That was back in the day. That was the old days. I said, look, told my kids, the only reason I'm not killing you right now is because I remember when I was that age. That's the only reason you're not dead right now. But
I think you have to define dead, because there was a couple times I think I died a couple times in your hands. So define dead.
Dead is dead. That's it. The only reason you're not dead. Yeah, but I think during these years, Holly, is where I know you said he kind of like, oh, mom, get back. I need you to get back. And then what we try to do is give them their space so they don't be mad at us. But I didn't do that. I take that back. I did give them space because they needed to grow and have their own individuality, but I didn't give them so much space and I didn't know everything that's going. I remember going through Toya's backpack.
Exactly.
I was making sure there wasn't no stuff coming in my house. It's not supposed to be here. I was making sure that there were no things, because when we lived in Pasadena when she was a teen, and that's kind of when all of the what they call them, drive-by shootings started happening. And then everybody was getting on crack cocaine during that time. And Toya, she was a really pretty girl and she was tall. And so I was worried. I was like, don't get in nobody's car. That's the only time you really got a whooping, Toya. When I told you don't get in anybody's car with them and you disobey. But it was for her own good. I had to work, So I think during that time, they really need you more, or they're going to be lost. They're going to be lost to you. They need to see that you love them. So you have to have a balance with love and discipline equally. And I'm not saying you have to whoop your kids. Toya just acting. She really only got whoopings in 9th grade. Because that was it in 9th grade.
The whooping in 9th grade was so severe. And mind you, I said the whooping in 9th grade was so severe that I didn't do anything else for the rest of my life. If this whooping lasted several hours. She even took me to church after she whooped me to even do more discipline. You did take me to church after that. No, we did. I do remember. And let me tell you why I remember, so that we know. I don't even know if my mom knows this. So this is the first time I'm being transparent. Not only did I get in the car and not when I wasn't supposed to be in the car, I didn't tell my mom it was a half day, but because she's all in my business, she already knew it was a half day. So that messed me up. And when I didn't know she was going to know I was in the car. I thought I was going to hang out with my friends. They were going to take me home. She'll never know. But senior FBI, CIA agent, the recruit, I'm up under her. She knew everything. I also was a little tipsy. Did you know that, Mom?
I didn't know that.
Oh, so that's so horrible to me. I was a little bit tipsy, okay? So she's whooping me. I'm tipsy. I know what's going on. And then when she's done, it was time for Bible study. And I was falling asleep in Bible study because I was a little tipsy. And she kept hitting me. Wake up! Wake up!
Oh, wow.
So that was so traumatic. That was so traumatic. And I promise you, I never wanted to experience that side of my mom again. And not to say I never did anything, but I never did anything to that extent because I never wanted to experience my mother again. Because that was traumatic.
You earned that whooping, though.
But it was all for her safety. It was all for her safety because they were just looking for LaToyas out there. Let me tell you what else she did. I know She took herself out of all of her what am I trying to say? Out of all of her
honors classes.
Why? So she could just skate through and I would never know. Yes, she did. I was so mad. I went up there and said, how do you allow a ninth grader to? I was so mad because she thinking, because you don't always pay attention. If I'm seeing all A's, oh, cool. I'm not really looking at what the grade, what the class is. So she removed herself from all of her honors classes, got a bunch of dummy classes, but she forgot senior FBI is going to look and say, hey, something not adding up here. What's going on?
Wow.
Well, it was hard to ditch honors classes and still get an A. Very easy to ditch the other classes and get an A. So I was logical and was like, I'll still get a 4.0 if I'm just getting the easier classes. I can still ditch. I think it was smart. I think she should have acknowledged how smart I was, and I was making sure that my GPA didn't drop. She should acknowledge that.
Toya was so, like she said, she made sure that didn't happen again. I remember this guy that I used to pay to take her back and forth to school, one of her schoolmates, but I knew him and everything. He was a really nice guy. So I would pay him because, I mean, it was really bad at one time that I really was nervous. And then I know, honestly, I was living in Chicago there. I ditched a lot in ninth grade. That was just too much freedom for one person. So me and my cousins, we ditched a lot in ninth grade. So I already know, like I said, I knew what was keeping me from killing her. But she had gone to, some kids were ditching at a house. And the guy that drove her, he went to pick up his cousin from that house or something. So somebody a neighbor had seen the kids in there, the high schoolers, and called the police. So when the police got there, she said, please call my mom so she'll know I wasn't. Please call my mom. Please call my mom. And so I get a call from a police officer and I'm freaking, right? The Pasadena police calling me. And he said, I just wanted you to know that we had this call and blah, 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 blah. Your daughter was here when we got here. She was sitting on the couch waiting for the cousin to pick up whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. And I was cracking up to myself because I was like, okay, you did a good job. She's not going to be ditching at somebody's house. Girls and boys all doing who knows what.
I wanted to make sure they knew. I was just waiting because it really did happen like, whoa, this is a bad situation. And that officer was looking at me. I said, will you please call? Nobody else was asking. I was like, no, I need you to call my mom. I need them to know that I wasn't involved. So Holly, we are saying all of this to say that parenting is not easy. Your kids are going to do all kinds of craziness. But at the end of the day, if you keep that lines of communication open, you keep that good relation between your kids, it all works out. It all truly works out. It does.
Yep, it does.
That's what we're working on.
And keep working. It's gonna work, girl. It's gonna work. And we're gonna have this conversation.
I might not make it.
You'll make it.
We're gonna have to have a parenting recap in about 5 years, and we're gonna be like, Holly, tell us where he's at now. Because by that time, he'll be about 19, 20. We're going to have a parenting recap, and you're going to have some of these same conversations we're having.
Or he'll be here to explain why I'm not here. But when I was 16. One
of the two. But either way it goes, we're going to have that. Okay, so question for you ladies. Now, we are in a new era. And you hear a lot about this gentle parenting, right? You have to gentle parenting. I was raised in an era between my mother and then my grandmother as well, too, because my grandmother did a lot of babysitting for us. And gentle parenting was an option. You did what I said or you got your butt beat. That was it. Like, that was the gentle parenting. Like, you can go cry. They allowed us to cry. Well, my mother allowed me to cry prior to, some parents didn't, but my mother would allow us to cry, but you go cry somewhere else. You could be mad in your own room, in your own space, in your own time, right? But now with the gentle parenting,
you something to cry about.
Exactly.
Yes. I heard that a lot.
Yes. But now with gentle parenting, this is not okay. You have to let your kids express themselves and you have to let them say what they want to say. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on gentle parenting?
Heck no. In ways, because we have to change. Our parents were it cut and dry, wrong from right, according to what I say, and that's it. We would get a whooping, we cry, and then they tell us, shut up for crying before I give you something to cry about. Well, I'm crying because you just gave me something to cry about. So we couldn't, you were not allowed to express your feelings. So my thing is, because I've heard a lot of little kids calling their parents, names like it is just, no, I will not do that. Just totally disrespectful. But what I did with my kids, I was like, okay, you're upset and you're mad. How am I going to be fussing at you or yelling at you or put you on punishment or whatever we had as disagreement? Because literally, Toya only got one whooping, so she just talking head here. But I would allow them. I said, you know what? You can go in the bathroom. I'm not going to tell you cannot cry because you're honestly upset. You're either mad or hurt or whatever it is. You go into the bathroom. You can kick. You can scream. You can shout. You can do whatever you want to. Do not break anything. Do not put any holes in the wall. When you're done, you wash your face and you come out and it's over. Why not? We have emotions and they do too. Also, I did something where we call the family forum. And that's where we could get together and we could talk about anything, upset, good, bad, or indifferent, whatever it was. We could talk about. There was no getting mad as long as everyone was respectful to each other. There was no getting mad for what they just said. It's just we could have a family forum. And little Mike was younger one time, and I remember he raised his hand. I said, yeah. He said, well, can we cuss? I said, no, you cannot cuss. So the only rule was you had to be respectful. You couldn't cuss. He was little. But so I think gentle parenting, we've tried to get away from how our parents raised us, but we went a little too far because in that somehow they've lost the respect. Now, I'm not saying the way they did it was right. As a matter of fact, I think a lot of it may not have been right. But we allow our kids now to be a little too disrespectful to us, to just tell us no. Hey, take out the garbage. No. Mama, can you go get me these shoes? Sure, come on. Wait a minute. So we've kind of went a little farther to the other side than we really should have. And I'll tell you another thing that I always did, which our parents didn't do. They would not say they were sorry for anything. They would not apologize. Even if they knew they were wrong, they would not apologize. So you must acknowledge your mistakes and your failures and where you were wrong to your children and apologize to them. And they will do the same thing as well.
That's true.
My take on it.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's basically exactly what we do. We have boundaries in our house and my son knows them. But actually, I think LaToya told me this about a year ago when we first started working together about the open forum that you had created and then she used. And so we actually started using it here. And we allow him to cuss if he wants. That's probably the only difference, but only in that one moment, and we do the same thing. We have boundaries. He has boundaries. We try to respect his the same way that we would want his, but you're still 14. If you feel like you're big enough to step up or something, you might get a whooping, So I think there's a lot of thin lines that you can take from my parents or what they do today. But I don't think there's just one clear-cut answer. I don't think gentle parenting is the way to make a productive citizen. And I don't think stern, hard, cold, doesn't talk about anything. I don't think that's the way to do it either. Right. And so, I guess that's the fun of parenting though, right? Trying to figure it all out. Yeah, that's the fun,
trying to figure it out.
Figure out what do you fix and what do you keep.
Yes. And you've got one and I've got two. And they were both so much alike, but so different. And so you have to figure that out. You have to figure that out without making the other child jealous because my kids are 8 years apart. So it's almost like two only children. And so, I didn't have the sibling rivalry, thank God, which I don't think I would have had it anyway. But because they were so far apart, there was always peace. That was her. He looked up to his big sister and she just loved, even though she was jealous, she loved her little brother. So I always had peace and harmony in the house, which a lot of people don't have. So I think I was really fortunate for that. But you do have to figure out what works for each child. And how do I balance that out? That's the hard thing.
Yeah. I agree too. I love gentle parenting now. But I agree with both of you when I would say that it's gone a little bit too far. You know, there are some things I still believe, because the Bible says spoil a child, spare the rod, you spoil a child. So I still do believe in spanking my child. I still do, although my grandbaby,
Not her grandbaby. Oh,
not my grandbaby. She doesn't get, none of my grandchildren will ever get whoopings. That's not my job. I raised you and
true.
I whooped
That's
you
true.
to
That's
be
true.
able to raise them and whoop them, right? So I don't whoop my grandchildren, right?
Wow.
But my kids. But I do notice that I was a different parent for three,
Yeah.
right? You have one, my mom has two, so different years apart. And you probably feel the same way too, Mom, that you were two different parents for
Yeah.
each kid, because you are.
Yeah.
I was very stern with my first one. Probably too stern. Well, I don't know. He
Too
was
stern. Yeah. Too stern with my little Tyler.
But anyway, I don't know. He deserves some of it. But no, I do feel that I may have been too stern. And then I began, I think I felt like I loosened up as it went over, and kind of found that good boundary to where the respect is most important. Like, you have to have respect. But with my oldest son, I think I was breaking his wheel, his fire, because he's very fiery. You know, he's very fiery. He's very, and I was trying to break that when
Yeah.
I should have just demanded the respect behind it. Like, let
Mhm.
him still be him. Let him have all of that fire
Mhm.
and all of that, and not break it. But that comes, I mean, shucks, I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
You know, you learn and you kind of do as you go. But now that I get
Yeah.
older, I realized that I probably shouldn't have been trying to break him. I should
Right.
have just made him understand, like, you can be who you are, but you need to have this respect right here. I'm always going to be who I am. But I won't change all that. And I do believe in spanking your kids. I do. But I do believe that kids, even more so now, where I think I missed the mark, was kids have a voice. They have feelings.
Yes.
They understand more than we think they understand. And I think we
Definitely.
need to take the time to
Mhm.
talk to them, you know.
Mhm.
Even my grandbaby, like, she's 2 years old. And the way she looks and she comprehends and she reminds and she talks to me, she totally understands everything that's going on. You know,
Mhm.
so why do
Yep.
we respond to them as if they're an alien or
Right.
that they don't know? You know, they
Yeah.
deserve to express. So mine was
And that,
different.
yeah. And that's what confused me, like when you said that you really think that you should have not broken him, because that's the one thing that I always, I gave them a voice, I let them talk, and I think she may have been getting a lot of dad's influence, males influence on how you should raise a child, which is, nothing is wrong with that. I totally agree with it, but you don't stop the nurturing. And I think one thing I try to look for in my children is, who are they? Because I didn't feel like people saw who I was. So I really tried to look at who are they and then nurture that. And then the reason we have a lot of problems with our children is because we try to break them and fit them into the mold of what is right. If your child is fiery, you figure out what makes that fire burn. Like, I hear people, they call their children, oh, he's just lying. He always lies. He always lies. And I always try to say, no, he's creative. Give that girl or that boy a pen and a pencil and tell him, write that story down. When you constantly say, stop lying, stop lying, stop lying, stop lying, but heck yeah, we know they're making up stories. Go out and buy him a pen, a pencil, and a notebook and say, hey, write that story down. We can make a book out of this. And that way they know it's okay to be creative, because I was one of those creative kids. It's okay to be creative, and then maybe you will be a writer. And I always say really good with, I wrote some stories when I was young, and me and my brother would write poems together and stuff. So you have to look at what you think is outside of the norm. Look at your child, figure out who that little rascal is, and then nurture everything that's inside of them. Even if you got one of those really active children that have all the kids on the playground acting up, well, you got a leader there. and I would tell my son, I would say, my gosh, you are a leader. You have people that are drawn to you and they do things. And he was really young. And I said, what I want you to do is, to make fun of it. You use those powers for good. Now, I don't know how well that worked, but I would say use those powers for good so that I am a leader. I am someone that people are drawn to. But how will I use this? Consequences, you always got to let them know there are consequences. They're going to be either good or bad. You make that decision.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, I think that's really important. Like we all keep saying is, hone in, nurture whatever it is, whatever that fire is, whatever that misbehavior is, whatever that issue is, nurture that because there's something deeper behind it. They're kids, they're developing. So, they're not just outright being defiant. It's something, really nurture that. And my mom, some of them are right out defiant, huh? But why? Why are you that defiant? Is that the only time you get attention? Because sometimes it's that. You only get attention when you're bad. So you're going to be bad because that's the only time you get attention, So what is it? Because sometimes it's just that. And my mom said that a lot of mine came, and I would agree with you when you said that you think I got some parenting tips from dads of how you have to do because you have boys, right? So a lot of mine is, I know that for probably about 12 years, I parented out of fear. As you said, Mom, Pasadena's not the best area where I grew up, or relationships and friends and family members who are involved in certain activities and gangs and drugs and all of that. And me having 3 sons and being so young, I parented out of fear. My parenting was always, I'm afraid for you to be a drug addict. I'm afraid for you to go to jail. I'm afraid for you to be a gangbanger. So I'm just going to beat your butt and make you sit here. That's if I had to sum up my parenting, I would say that's what it was. It was all out of fear. I need you not to do any of these things outside of the box and sit right here and don't move. Just stand like this. Don't move. Stay in this box. If you stay in this box, we're all safe. But that's wrong for a child. They want to be outside the box, flipping over the box, under the box, tear holes in the box. And I needed to learn from there. But
especially boys.
But what I have learned going through all that, and as you grow, is it doesn't matter how old your child is, you don't give up. You continue to nurture that. You continue to speak to that. You continue to hone in on that and to work on that. That's the one thing that almost disturbs me with parenting. And I don't want to say that anyone is wrong because we all do several things wrong. I know I've done a lot of things wrong. But that 18 years of age and you're grown and I need to cut you off and you got to go on. No, you're my responsibility. And if I didn't do what I was supposed to do by the time you 18 and you ain't out going to, I need to put in some more years because it was my job to get you there. And if you ain't there by that time, I need to make sure that I can get you there, So I think that is extremely important and something that I've learned. Like, don't give up on your kids. God gave you those. That is your first ministry. That is your number one ministry and the most important thing, your marriage and then your children. Those are your most important. That's your most important ministry. But
and I think it's family. That's what family is. Yes, they're old. You're not going to give them like you did and totally take care of them, but they still need you just like you still need them. And that's just a family. And that's just showing love to your neighbor, actually, honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
It is showing love to your neighbor because if your kid's running around being a hellion and not a good citizen, then you're hurting your neighbors. But if you stand on that child, then you are being a good neighbor because you're making sure they're not harming their neighbors. All right. So, question for you guys. And this is just kind of a funny little question. What non-essential generational curse are you going to break? Now, Mom, I know your kids are old, so you can do it with grandkids or, whatever, or even with kids. It could be something even with us as today. And I hope it's good. I hope it's like buying my daughter something for Christmas every single year, like a major, major gift, like she was when she's 11. I hope it's something like that. But what non-essential generational curse do you guys want to break or are planning on breaking?
Wow. I think I
That's hard.
Yeah, that's hard. I think I have sort of broken it because I see it with you guys and your children. The do as I say, part of it, do as I say, not as I do. And then that, speak when you're spoken to and not until. So I think those things I have broken already, because I see it with you guys and you raising your children. Because you know how you say I would sit back and watch, and I still sit back and watch, because fortunately, I have to pick up the pieces with my grandbabies. I don't care how old they are, when their parents just don't know what the heck they're doing. But
that's what grandparents are for.
Huh?
That's what grandparents are for.
Yeah, is to never say no. But I think I have broken some, which means even breaking some of the ways I think about things and really assessing myself. I think our parents and grandparents thought they were right, and that was it. And one thing I learned is that, okay, as I've gotten older, they were really giving good advice, but it was a presentation. So I listen to me and I focus on my presentation, and I'll tell them in the very beginning, look, I'm just sharing things to help you guys from some experiences that I have. You don't have to take everything I say. Listen, if it's something that works, sift it out and keep the good and throw away the bad. But it's their presentation, I can tell you, that turned us off. So I'm conscious of that.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I think for mine, it's there are a few, and I see my mom even fixing them with my son. Must be that grandparent thing. But she was always pretty big on fear, like letting me go too far. Sure, we can go an hour away, but that's kind of pushing it. We're actually being presented with that with my son. He's been invited to a few different trips and stuff because of his grades. And so we're making sure that we have the money that he can go and that he can go. And despite what I told LaToya, I don't think I'm going to get to follow him like I want. So he's going to get to do that. But that was something I always wanted to do. It's so silly, I guess first problems, but I always wanted to go to things like that I was invited on. But my mom would just be like, oh, no, you're not going to Washington, D.C. without me. So we're trying to change that with Andy and let him go. Yeah, it's for school. It can go on a college application. So other than that, of course, the basics, like you said, keeping an open home, no word is a bad word, that we don't need to talk about this or that. Right. So we try to keep things open. But in my mom's defense, I can see her changing even that with my son. So I think once it is a grandchild, it's different. I didn't get all that pleasure, but he seems to get it all. But yeah, I could see that even she's trying to change some of those things. So I guess, hindsight. That's kind of probably what it is. So
yeah, we learn and grow.
And it is, Holly, because I will say the same. My mom was the same with me. There were a lot of things that I noticed with my kids, and I was like, she wouldn't. What the?
Exactly.
Yeah. So grandparents do it. And now that I have my Grammy girl, my boys all the time, like my granddaughter was jumping off the couch. She would walk and stood on my couch and she jumped. And I looked at her and I saw her jumping and I just kept on doing what I was doing. Two of my boys were home and they both were just staring at me. And literally they both did like this. One did like this. The other one said, my youngest was like, and then Austin kind of put his head right here. And it was like, what happened to the Toya that we know that will beat your butt if you jump on her couch again? And I told Austin, I said, if you would have raised your daughter not to jump on people's couches, she wouldn't be jumping on the couch. That's not my problem. That's your child. That means you allow her to jump on couches. Not me.
Wow.
But the generational curse, I think as my kids were growing up, what I tried to break, and honestly, I think this probably came from my mom. But what I tried to do is, I didn't come from my mom because my mom was slightly different in how she did it. But I tried to give them what they wanted, regardless, right? So with my mom, my mother would buy me whatever I wanted, but it had to be a purpose. I wanted designer jeans. She had the nerve to ask me what type of designer jeans. I don't know what type of designer jeans I want. I just want designer jeans. Like, just go find me designer jeans. I didn't even really know what designer jeans were. I just knew that word. But she was like, well, tell me the kind of designer jeans you want and I'll buy them. Like, that was too many questions, lady. Just go get it, right?
Go get the
Whereas
jeans.
with me, if my kids asked for designer jeans, then I was just like, okay, let's go get some. Where we go get them at? Like, you didn't have to have an essay or an explanation about the designer jeans, you know? But that's really what I tried to do. I never wanted my kids to feel like, and this was probably from being a young mom, I never wanted my kids to feel like I couldn't provide to them what maybe someone who would have waited to have kids older and married could provide. You know, you want to sit up at GameStop at midnight because the game is new releasing and it costs $75 for this game and I only got $89. We're going to eat Top Ramen because you're going to get the $75 game, you know? So
I'm guilty of that too.
Exactly. Yeah. We're going to spend a night in the parking lot at GameStop and I'm going to spend my last $75. You don't know it's my last $75. But I'm going to do it just because. So those are the things I tried to break. But I think some of that me trying to break was also me not wanting my kids to feel the strain of a teen mom. That bothered me a lot. I never wanted my kids to feel that they didn't get what other kids got because they had a teenage mom. Mm-hmm. That lived in my head for a long time, you know, making sure that things like that didn't happen. And what I did was raise some ungrateful
That's what I was going to say, is mine feels entitled. He's asking for a PlayStation 5 for one game. He doesn't like PlayStation, but the 4 had one that came out with the 5. So now the 4 is no longer good. But he sits on the Xbox and had the nerve to say, well, for Christmas, you think I could get that PS5? And I told my husband, well, we got to figure it out, right? Like I was like, well, it's only this much. And I'm giving it. He's like, you're not going to give in. You told him you weren't buying anymore. And I was like, what? Look, it's... So I think I'm raising an entitled child maybe a little bit, but I get what you're saying.
Yes. And you are. And I raised 3, but I love it. And they love me. And we all love each other. And they're all very entitled.
And I think with girls is different. Like LaToya, when your mom is raising a girl, you're teaching her to be a woman. And she even came back and told me that. But Toya, with those designer jeans, what I was getting you to see is it's not because everybody else says I have designer jeans. If you like a certain type and you want to go get them, hey, let's go get them. She didn't even know what the heck they were. Mom, I want some designer jeans. Oh, okay, which designer? She looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. But with that, Toya, you see how Toya dresses. She uses her own mind. She likes what she likes. She buys what she doesn't go in with what everybody else had. Now with my son, I do think I made him entitled as well because I was there, you know, at that time getting the Jordans. And my nephew too, when he was living with me, getting the Jordans at 12 o'clock in the morning, but they were good boys. But in hindsight, I say, you know what was I really teaching them by doing that? There should have been they were getting good grades. They were doing good. It was nothing that they were not doing. But I think I should have probably still, even if I didn't stick to them, you guys, you know, make them think, parents, that there's some stipulation for me making these sacrifices for you. That's what I didn't do. Whereas I think with LaToya, we talked more about those things. So I think I made her more responsible and I raised an entitled son. Oh my gosh. I think in ways, and he's still a pretty good son, you know, but yeah, he's a little more entitled than Toya, whereas Toya's like, this is who I am, take it or leave it, which is what I wanted her to be. A young lady who takes care of herself. I mean, not outside of saying, oh, you don't need a man, that kind of thing. But as a woman, you really need to be confident and take care of yourself. So I raised her in that way, and she's done amazing things far beyond than what I thought she was gonna do. So
you thought I was gonna be slow somewhere? Like, oh, huh? You thought I was gonna be slow somewhere? Like, I'm worried about this one.
But you have no limits. And then we were all really shy. People don't think that. Even I'm still really shy. My son was really shy. Toya wouldn't even go to McDonald's. She wouldn't go to the counter and say, can I order a Happy Meal? So I would force her because I was really shy. So I would push her and say, Toya, you have to go order our food. She would start crying. Oh
wow.
Oh my goodness, it was a mess. So I think I really wanted her to be take more chances. I don't think I took enough chances, and I wanted her to take chances and not be afraid to take those chances, even though you're by yourself. So she does a pretty good job of that. But that boy, now that entitled little rascal, he think there's nothing that he cannot do, but he doesn't push himself.
Oh,
so it's interesting. It's interesting. It's interesting. But it's so well worth it. I thank God for my children.
Yeah, I do too. I really, if I have to say, out of all the accomplishments, everything I've done in my life, and I've done some stuff and tried some stuff, but what is most rewarding for me and what I enjoy the most is being a mom. Mm-hmm. That is, I would take that over anything. If I had to choose right now to be a mom or to go to be a mom and still get the same salary, or go to work, every single day, and maybe even give me $50,000 more, I would choose be a mom and keep the same salary. Like I would choose that over anything. As long as I'm comfortable and I can feed them. But my mom is like, nope, sign me up for the money. Get rid of these kids.
Do I regret it? No. If I could change things, I just would have done it differently, I think. But then had I done it differently, I wouldn't have Toya and Mike. You know what I'm saying? Everything makes your experiences make you and those around you who you are and what you are. So, but I don't think being a parent is my greatest choice.
But you know what?
Did I love it? Absolutely. Would I change it for the world? Absolutely not. I would not even change who they are. Not at all. But I can't think what is. Maybe it's just because no, I don't think I would do that. No, I don't think that's my greatest. I don't think so.
And truly, it really is for me. I think it's different for everyone. Yeah. But even when I was a kid on the playground, if somebody would ask what you wanted to be, I would always say housewife. I wanted to be a housewife. I had no want to work. I really wanted to stay home and be a housewife and have a whole bunch of kids. If I could right now, my husband is totally opposite. He don't want my kids, his kids, nobody's kids. He don't want kids, right? He got a whole bunch, but don't want that. But if he were different, I would foster as many kids if I could right now. Like I would just foster a whole bunch of kids. I went to the class. The first time I went to the class, Mario was like, "What you doing?" It's like, "I'm finna foster." He was like, "We just got the bat." He said, "We got the bat. Beep, 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 up out of our house. We're not gonna bring no more."
Oh wow.
But no, I would. That's just what I enjoy. I truly, truly enjoy being a mom, but I understand everything that it takes. So it's not easy. That's why I didn't have more. That's why I stopped at 3, because I would love to. I would love to have 12. I love big families of 8 and 12, and I would love to do that. But I understand what it takes to have them, to be that and to do everything else. So if I could do it all over, I would be as rich as Michael Jackson, and I would just have kids as many as God would allow me to have until I just stopped having them. That would be my dream.
Go ahead then. Go. Because I used to want 6 children until I started having. I said, 2's enough. That's good enough.
Wow.
What about you, Holly? You have one.
I didn't want any before him. I had actually went through my whole life saying, nope, that's it. I don't. I had like little siblings running around. That was it. I didn't want any. Got pregnant, and I don't know. It was like something snapped. Kind of. I was like, okay, I want this one. Told my mom. That conversation was harder because I was a teen mom too. So that conversation, telling her I wanted to keep the baby, was even more than just telling her there was one. Yeah. And then after that, when I got married and stuff, I wanted a ton of them. It wasn't in the cards. We've tried, and all the different tips and tricks and stuff doctors do, but just wasn't in the cards. But I'm like you, I really like being a mom. All jokes aside and the struggle and stuff aside. I love it. And I've got all my eggs in this basket, like do better than me, be better than me. I want to make sure that he gets to achieve his dreams. So I totally agree with you. I see what you're saying, but that's just, some people it is, I guess.
Yeah. Some people it is, it isn't. All right, ladies. So we're running around at our last little bit. We have our few minutes of spotlight. If you have one thing that you would want to share, one parenting tip, one thing you want to share with the mom, some encouragement, just something that you wouldn't share, here's your time. Who would like to go ahead and share that?
I'll go really quick. Be
Okay.
honest, be open, don't have any regrets because you did the best that you could do at the time. Talk to your children, share your mistakes, talk about their mistakes. A mistake is not who they are, it's what they've done, and let them know that just as God forgave them, they are forgiven. You will forgive them, and they just have to forgive themselves. But you guys, to be a parent is one of the greatest things that can happen to you. Talk to your children, be open to your children, hug your children. Even families that don't hug, just every now and then, just hold your child. Remember how it felt when they were a baby? When they get in high school, it feels the same way. I remember I told my son, I said, gosh, I wish you were so little. I just want to hold you right now. You know, he was a grown man at the time. But just love your children, be open, be honest. Don't be afraid to hide who you were, what you did. I mean, there's some things you may not want to keep, but this is who I was. This is who I am. And I made you and I love you. And the older they get, always remember, the more they need you to be their mom, not their so much supporter or contributor, but they need you to be their parent forever.
Man, I love that. I love that. That was amazing. Holly, what would you have to say?
I would say just to remember to be easy on yourself. I think a lot of the time as mothers and parents in general, we're really hard on ourselves. Oh, we didn't do this right, or we didn't do it like our neighbor did it. I think there's all different styles of parenting, and it's not necessarily that one is wrong and, you know, the other one's the best and the perfect. So just be easy on yourself. Remember that not everyone is going to breastfeed or bottle feed or gentle parent.
Ooh, I like
The other thing I would say is just enjoy it. It really goes quickly. You know, they say you blink and all of a sudden they're a teenager, and it really does feel like that's true. So just enjoy it while you can, and remember that it doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
Love that. I love that.
Good,
And I'm gonna piggyback after both of you guys, and I will say the same thing. I do love the way that she said it's not gonna look the same. You know, not everyone breastfeeds, not everyone bottle feeds. It's not gonna look the same. To forgive yourself, forgive your child, to be patient. But I would say most importantly that God had in mind you when he knew that child, when he knew everything that that child was going to go through, all of what may be breaking your heart, all that may be frustrating you and stressing you out, and everything that may feel uncomfortable when you're parenting. God had you in mind to be that child's parent. There is nobody in the world that can raise that child, that can love that child, that can take care of that child better than you can. You can see the best parent in the world on Instagram and TikTok and social media. You can see the greatest moms in the world taking care of their children, but they were created for that child. You were created for your child. So be easy on yourself, love your children, be patient with yourself, be patient with your children. Don't feel uncomfortable about apologizing to your children. If you feel like you didn't get it right the first time and you realize that maybe I messed it up, there's nothing wrong with asking for their apology. As a matter of fact, their behavior may be waiting for you to ask for their apology on something. So you were created for that child. You are the greatest person for that child or those children. Love yourself, love your children, because God loves you. So thank you, everybody, for watching episode 5 with us, Parenting Words of Virtue. We love you. We love you. We love you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.